Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series. Hey guys, it's Adam here. As I'm sure you're very sick of hearing about, I went to the UK recently. Sorry, but this is the last game store that I hit up. I hit this up on the second to last day I was in the UK. And stay tuned to the end because my pickup of the entire trip came up from this store. So, yeah, I've been here. I was here 2 years ago at their smaller store. They moved slightly a couple of blocks. Ben and I, aka Shen Muso, who took me out here, we had a hell of a hard time finding this particular store because our GPSs kept getting us lost, and we went like all the way up this giant hill. And anyway, it's not like we couldn't use the exercise. It was just annoying. But ultimately, we found the store just fine. And as you can see, once you get inside, all sorts of cool stuff. In there, there's Game Boy Advance stuff, and there's 360, PS3, Wii, DS. They have DVDs and controllers and stuff all over. I am going to warn you now, the footage is a little haphazard. You might notice when I kind of quickly pan, there was a lot of people in the store, and people tend to not really like to be filmed, so I had to do my best to kind of work around that. So I do apologize because I was not able to do a lot of slow, pans across of the games and stuff. This section, of course, has a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays if you're looking for that stuff. And then there's a staircase that goes upstairs, but I'll show you that in a minute. So they had a bunch of OG Xbox, which I was very happy to see. So they got tons of them. The OG Xbox had something, I think it was 71 releases in Europe that we never got. I mean, I vaguely recall that being the number, so that I was keeping an eye out for a lot of them. And of course, PlayStation 2, which was a juggernaut, like insane success over there. They had a couple of imports. There's the NTSC American version of Metal Gear Solid 3, so you can pick that up if you want. You're all set. But yeah, they had a couple of those leaked in there, but mostly, of course, it was PAL stuff. And behind there, they have the case with a lot of the more sought after titles of usually Nintendo or Genesis stuff, SNES and etc. More high end carts. I got a couple of good pickups out of there a couple of years ago. Big plushies and stuff up on the walls. Just more random box sets and things like that. But now let's go up the stairs. Apologies for the jump cut there. I had to do this in like 2 different takes because of people. But yeah, when you go upstairs, there's a bunch of posters and stuff to greet you on your way up. And please understand that they were still kind of setting this place up as we were getting there. Like, I assume it's going to get, they're still making progress on it. So you get upstairs and then you can go into the right and there's more games for sale. There's an event room and there's an arcade room. I'll show you the arcade room in a bit. But this is the other game room that's just full of stuff. So there's more Sega Saturn games, Mega Drive, aka Sega Genesis games are in there, which is always good to see. They had a nice selection of that. They had various consoles in stock, like Mega CD2, and they had random things like the Menacer up there. I'm not into like obscure controllers, but shout out to my buddy Shane, aka Rerez. I know he's really into a lot of strange controllers, and if you ever try to do that in other countries, it's a whole different animal because they have controllers you've never heard of. So of course there were a bunch of Dreamcast games there. I picked up a few for my buddy Scott the Canadian. Random just cheap titles that I'm sure they were just trying to get rid of right there. All sorts of cool stuff there, light guns and some just odd stuff I've never seen before. They had some magazines for Retro Gamer, which is I believe it's a British publication. We don't have that over here. Some PC games as well as things like ZX Spectrum and other stuff. N64 boxed, Game Boy Color boxed. More of those cassette-based games. Again, that's like Commodore 64 and stuff like that. I'm sorry, I'm not super familiar with that era of games, especially the European stuff. They had Atari 2600 up there, and down there they got some Game Boy Advance. A lot of stuff in the box. Game Boy Color, probably original Game Boy as well. I'm not 100% on that. More boxed things for, I'm assuming, various like Amiga platforms. GameCube stuff. Controllers of all sorts for various platforms. Box consoles again. Some toys. Some light guns. Some PC controllers. Various Atari cartridges. Then they had a nice little selection of CDI and 3DO, oddly enough. I think that might have been the only place I saw any CDI stuff while I was there. Nintendo 64, lots of Sega Master System. I know I keep talking about that, but it's really cool to see all the Sega Master System stuff that North America never got. Nice little Pez dispenser there. That's cool. And then the PlayStation section, basically, they had a lot of PS1 games. All alphabetized too, which is always nice. I definitely appreciate that. I mean, I understand why that can be a pain in the ass for any store not to alphabetize stuff, but man, does that make it easier when you're trying to look for things. But I mean, I get it. People come in, they grab stuff, and they put it back in the wrong place, and it's just tedious to try and fix that stuff. But yeah, it's a quick look at. No, there's Mark Hamill. I got to see him at Star Wars Celebration only like a week or two before I shot this, so that's cool. And then there's the arcade room to the right there in that door. That's going to be the event room. To the left, that's a British person. That's Ben, aka Shen Muso, playing Area 51 in the arcade room. So if you go out there, you can check out the arcade room in addition to buying all these games and stuff. But unfortunately, Ben will not be there to amuse you. So that was an updated look at Gotham games. Naturally, I got some pickups, and including, I think, my best pickup, certainly the most exciting one of the entire trip. It's not on the table at the moment. That will be a surprise for the end of the video. But before we get to it, I want to show you the other stuff I got here. Now again, I'm looking for the regional exclusives, stuff that came out in Europe that never came out in North America. So I'm generally not looking for high quality stuff, because a lot of the European exclusives, frankly, are terrible. But I wanted them anyway, because it's funny, and you'll see what I'm saying. So first up for the PS1, and I didn't get very many PS1 games, but I got these. The Dalmatians. Oh yes. Made by that terrible company I keep telling you about, Phoenix. Well, technically this isn't by them, this is by Midas Games. And then what happened was Phoenix came along and made Dalmatians 2. Oh yeah, right. Fucking, these are obviously blatant rip-offs of the Disney movie 101 Dalmatians. And if you guys saw an earlier video, I actually have Dalmatians 3 for the PS2, so fuck yeah, dude! I have the whole trilogy! I'm set! I can't believe that these are real. I'm sorry, it's just fucking hysterical. If you're curious what they are, if you haven't seen any of the other videos, they're basically just like short movies, like 50-minute animated movies that are basically done in, I swear to God, crayon, all voiced usually by just one guy, and who doesn't make any attempt to act and never changes voices between characters. They're awful, but they're funny. And they're all officially licensed stuff, man. That's the saddest part. I don't know who was working at Sony of Europe that allowed for all this crap to come through, but it did. But yeah, anyway, I picked them up because I just thought it was funny. And of course, they were absolutely worthless. Now, in the theme of ripping off Disney, this one isn't as blatant because this story goes well before Disney's time, but in modern pop culture, most people associate this story with Disney, The Quest for Sleeping Beauty. This is not made by that same company, this is made by a different company. Their games actually look like they have gameplay to them. Whoa, crazy concept, I know. It's probably not very good, but nevertheless, it looks like kind of like a dungeon crawler type of game, dungeon explorer type of game, but who the hell knows. Actually, defy dark, dangerous, and glorious ghosts to rescue Sleeping Beauty in the gripping take on the classic tale. So yeah, it looks like you just go through a dungeon until you find Sleeping Beauty. Okay, there are worse games in the world, I'm sure. They're right there. I also got World War I, Aces of the Sky. You basically are playing in one of those World War II, like little, almost like Red Baron type of planes, and you're just shooting at crap. Oh, those biplanes, that's what they're called. Probably not very good, but again, Midas, anything they put their stamp on was an exclusive, and generally Midas was not the stamp of gold, it was the stamp of shit. And this one actually, though, could be potentially worthwhile. This is called Fighting Angels. This was one of those Japanese games where there was a lot of Japanese, like, sex-based games, not surprisingly, that were part of the Simple series, if you guys have ever heard of those. A lot of them got brought over to Europe, but never to North America. This is basically like the poor man's Dead or Alive. That's basically what it is. Or Rumble Roses, if you guys remember that game. This looks like the exact same basic thing. It's just that it happens to be a regional exclusive to Europe and Japan, and not to North America. And finally, this last one, before we get to the super special item. This game, I was a little surprised to see, because I'm like, oh my god, that actually looks like a good game. Did we get that one? And it turns out we didn't. Cyverior! It's a really cool shmup. I have Cyberia 2, The Will to Fabricate for the Dreamcast. By the way, that title always bothered me, because The Will to Fabricate, I think that's English, and I think that essentially means the desire to lie. But anyway, there's a bunch of Cyberia games on the OG Xbox in Japan, but as far as I know, Cyberia 1 didn't come out on any of those. So I got Cyberia 1 for the PS2, and I'm just noticing now it actually has the option to switch between 50 Hz and 60 Hz. No doubt they were convinced a lot of people would be importing it, so there you go. Very nice, even though it's still got the region locks on it. But Cyberia Complete Edition for the PlayStation 2. And now, my friends, I'm going to... It's very appropriate, by the way, that I found this. This was the last store we went to. The last, because this was my second to last day in the UK, and the last day was just reserved for travel purposes. Last store on the last day, and I found was probably the best item. Sorry about the jump cut there, but as you can see, big item, takes up a lot of real estate, and you might be looking through the bag. Don't, seriously, there's spoilers. But, you know, whatever, I can't really stop you. So this thing was obviously my most exciting pickup, and the funny thing about it was, I saw it there 2 years ago when I was at Gotham Games the first time. And I even commented on it in my video, saying like, damn it, if I had the space for this thing, I would totally get it. Now circle back around, it's my second to last day in the UK. I have no space. If anything, I'm already too full. And, you know, I'm like, fuck, because it was still there and I couldn't get it. And my buddy Ben's like, no man, just get it, just go ahead, just get it. He's a terrible influence. No, I did that throughout the entire trip to him. Everywhere we went, I would push him to just buy a ton of games even if he didn't really want them. Sorry. So he was getting a little bit of revenge on me and was like, you gotta get this thing, man. You just have to get it. When else are you gonna get it? Well, you gotta get it. And I was like, no man, it's a logistical thing. Like, I can't get this thing home. There's just no way. Eventually, he talks me into it. So here it is. And if you're wondering, how the hell did I get it back here? We stopped off at a charity shop, also known as just, you know, like a thrift store. Bought this fucking thing. Just bought another suitcase. It was like £2, no big deal. And funny thing about this suitcase, so, alright, side story obviously, I took my main suitcase, it was all filled up, I put it on the belt, you know, to check it through. And then I put the second one on, I put that one on. The first one, lady has no reaction at all, she just tags it, no problem. Second one, she like breaks her face and she's just like, oh my god, how old is this bag? And I was just like, I don't know, I got it at a charity shop. She's just like, it has rust and belts on it. Is it going to survive the trip? And I'm like, I hope so, just to make it one way. She's like, Jesus, alright, well, good luck. She was very bold. The thing held up just fine, as you can see, there's nothing wrong with it, it was fine. But it served its purpose. It got this here safely. So what is it? After all this time, what am I talking about? I'm talking about this. This is an Amstrad GX 4000. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this because I think it would make a very good subject for its own video. But the long and the short of it is, this is a console made by a company called Amstrad. It was essentially only released in the UK and was a competitor for the NES, or at least that was the intention, and was pretty much wiped off the map by the Sega Genesis. I've already looked inside of it. I checked it out when I was in the store. Thing works great. It's in actually really good condition, and it even includes both controllers and the game. And if you know anything about this console, the games are impossible to find. So the fact that I even have one is a miracle. But yeah, I'm very, very happy that I actually got this, and in the box, no less. So absolutely fantastic. But there you go, guys. Amstrad GX 4000, last and I think personally the best pickup of the entire trip. So there you go. I want to again thank Gotham Games for letting me film in there and everything. I want to thank Ben for bringing me out there, and I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later.